Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's web event, a demonstration of J.D. Edwards. My name is Steve, and I'll be your host today. As we get started here, I'll just let you know how you can participate in today's web event. You should be seeing something that looks like this on your screen. As we demonstrate today, if you have any questions, please feel free to just type your question into the question pane and hit send. Then at the end of the event today, we'll have a Q&A session and answer any questions that you submit to us. I am very pleased to be joined today by another Steve Mowchan. Steve's our Senior Solution Consultant. Steve specializes in demonstrating various different ERP technologies. And today he's going to be giving us a live demo of J.D. Edwards. Real quickly, for anyone who's joining for the first time or anyone who doesn't know Terillium, we are an ERP consulting firm specializing in implementing ERP. We believe we're only as good as our last reference at Terillium, and we're very proud of the multiple customer success story awards that we have won, including Oracle's Customer Success Story of the Year and Titan Implementation Excellence Awards. ERP projects do carry some risk with them, as you may have heard from other projects, but we're very proud of all of our consultants who have led to many award-winning implementations at Terillium. We do have over 170 full-time consultants that live across the United States. We came up with the ERP Web Series to help companies navigate what can sometimes be a daunting journey through thinking about and selecting an ERP system. We hope that this web series helps make this process a little bit easier. So far in this series, we've seen two cloud ERP options, both NetSuite and Oracle's ERP Cloud. This afternoon, we are going to be demonstrating an on-premise offering called J.D. Edwards. Tomorrow, Thursday, we'll continue and end the series by comparing the pros and cons of cloud versus on-premise. And then finally, our President Dave Woodworth is going to share his implementation project experience in a session called ERP Success Factors. So today is J.D. Edwards, and I'll quickly introduce J.D. Edwards as a product, and then we'll let Steve take over and show us the solution. J.D. Edwards has a very loyal community of customers, over 7,000 customers in the J.D. Edwards community, with new customers being added every day. And J.D. Edwards, the customers really love this product, and you can see that reviews of this product by J.D. Edwards customers come up with 95% satisfaction ratings, where those customers would recommend J.D. Edwards to other companies. Customer retention with J.D. Edwards is extremely high. It's over 80%, and J.D. Edwards has been around for decades, so that is a very high retention rate. You compare that with some of the historical competitors. We don't see them much anymore, but historically SAP was a competitor to J.D. Edwards, and 9 out of 10 of those customers said they would not invest again in the product, versus very high satisfaction rates with J.D. Edwards. J.D. Edwards was purchased by Oracle several years ago, and it's really benefited from Oracle's over $5 billion per year within their R&D budget. Some examples of that are things that J.D. Edwards either has implemented recently or will be implementing soon, things like advanced forecasting, Google-like searching through the application. There is a new revenue recognition module that helps with the new revenue recognition rules, as well as cognitive computing. Something that's really unique about J.D. Edwards, you can run J.D. Edwards on any operating system and any database. So it runs on Oracle, but it also runs on an iSeries or a SQL database with any operating system. And because J.D. Edwards has a modern internet architecture, you can run it on-premise or you can run it in the cloud. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you deploy the system. And if you do run it on-premise, or if you care, you can run it on the platform form of your choice. J.D. Edwards, as Steve Mowchan will show you here in just a couple of minutes, has a very rich, modern user interface that allows you to search, report, personalize the application the way that works best for you. You get a lot of modern benefits with JD Edwards, from mobile applications, which I believe we'll see today, the Internet of Things, certainly cloud integration to other applications that can surround JD Edwards. And JD Edwards has one of the highest ROIs of any ERP system. You combine its low total cost of ownership with its depth of functionality, and reports say that you get $7 back for every dollar you spend on a JD Edwards implementation. JD Edwards allows you to pay a little bit differently than you would with a typical cloud application. Most cloud applications are SaaS, which means that you're renting the application on a monthly or yearly basis. For the rest of the time you own that application. JD Edwards allows you to buy the licenses once and not have to pay for them every year. Or if you'd like to finance that cost over time and make it look like a SaaS investment, you can from a financial perspective. Finally here, JD Edwards is a very complete ERP solution. So it certainly has the things you would expect, like finance, manufacturing, distribution, but it also has things you might not expect in a ERP solution, everything from customer relationship management to human capital, payroll, and HR, to transportation, warehousing. A lot of applications that you might not expect to be baked into the ERP system actually are with JD Edwards. So with that, now I will turn it over here to Steve Mowchan. And Steve, we're very happy to have you on the webinar today. Welcome. And I'm sure everyone is excited to see your live look at the JD Edwards system. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Welcome, everyone. I really appreciate you being here for the demonstration of JD Edwards. I'm going to start out by logging in from an internet web-based browser. So you can get on Microsoft Explorer, you can get on Chrome, Safari, they all work. As we log in, you will see a dashboard. JD Edwards calls these pages. Now, these pages come out of the box from Oracle, or you can create your own. The one I'm bringing up currently is for back orders. It's showing you all kinds of different reports on back orders. These pages can be assigned to your user ID. Okay, most of them are role-based, so you'll get these pages depending on what role you have in the company. You might have one, you might have two, you might have three. I've got lots of them here because I'm doing demos, but they would relate to your daily processes and what applications you need to use. So if we take a look a little bit closer at one of these dashboards, or a couple of them, it's worth reminding you that Oracle has created over 150 of these role-based dashboards or pages. The one here for back orders, on the left-hand side of the page, we have what are called watch lists. Oracle uses an alert, analyze, and act solution on their dashboards. On the left-hand column here, we've got some alerts. These watch lists, as they're called, alert you to things that you are interested in finding out what's going on in your system or with your orders. In this case, it's showing I have 32 back orders and I have 200 plus released back orders. These are completely configurable. You can take these pages that Oracle has created for you and modify them. So that's the alert part. Analyzing, we have several visual reports from graphs, pie charts, etc., that have detailed information on them that you can hover over and get more information. If you want to pop one out and actually go to the application that brings you into the data that's graphically represented. We'll go more into the applications later on. And then on the right-hand side is ACT. well, what do I need to do to act on this information that has been presented to me? So maybe I need to go in and review my orders. So these applications, I can release back orders online, so on and so forth. So they are set up so that you can get information sent, and a quick notice, a quick glance, analyze and do more in-depth digging, and then on the right-hand column is the act, or let me go ahead and fix or improve my situation based on the data I have seen. Again, there are lots of these. That one was for back orders, so maybe it's someone in customer service. Here's one for a warehouse manager. Many of these pages or dashboards are kind of higher level based. You'll see a lot of these on here are called manager, or for a manager, scheduler, production scheduler. I'll show you some in a little bit that I've created personally that I think are suited for the end user. And we'll see the difference between mine and the ones from Oracle. I would be remiss if I didn't at least show you one for a production scheduler that we've got here. I'm not a huge manufacturing guy, and we're going to focus on an order-to-cash example later on after I show you JD Edwards navigation. But I did want to bring up an example of how JD Edwards helps you with manufacturing. This is a work center load calendar. Effectively, it's saying, okay, I've got a work center. Show me my available capacity each day in number of hours. So obviously, this work center has multiple machines in it, and if I would click on it, if there were any work orders assigned for this work center on this date, they would show up here as part of the scheduled load. This calendar now has drag and drop capability, which is something that's just fantastic and is an extremely beneficial way of making your schedulers, production schedulers, more efficient. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead now and flip on over to a dashboard or a page that I've created. This one is I've called CSR. It's for customer service representatives specifically. Now, I've worked quite a few years with JD Edwards, 17 in fact, and a lot of that time has been spent in supply chain working alongside customer service reps. My screen is a little bit different. I've got my alerts, so these watch lists that I've created here for what orders are past due, what sales orders are on credit hold, what sales orders or shipments are likely to be late, identifying things that I'd want to check on a daily basis. But I don't have to go dig for the information. I can at a glance say, oh, hopefully it's zero or very, very low numbers for these. If not, they give me a chance to go ahead and do something about it. On the right, and then below that, I have some of my applications that I would like to use on a daily basis. Over here in the main part of the screen, I've got a sales order inquiry. I've created a query. We'll see these queries later on, how to generate one of these and how important they are in JD Edwards' daily use. I've got a query that's for orders expected to ship today. So easily, if a customer were to call up and say, hey, is my order supposed to be able to be shipped today? I can at a glance see that. There are some filters and some other ways to dig for data that I'll show you as part of this demonstration. But that's how I see my screen for someone who works with JD Edwards actively throughout the day and doesn't need the higher level view. Taking a trip around this and really all pages, we have some icons in the upper left-hand corner. Go to my home page, which again, the dashboard or E1 page can also be known as the home page. I have a navigator with all kinds of menus and stuff in here. I don't need these anymore. JD Edwards, with the R&D that Steve May had recently discussed, said, $5 billion of R&D from Oracle. they put a lot of that time and effort and money into the user experience, the user interface. So with these pages and everything in front of me, I don't need to go dig for an application anymore through a series of menus. Much, much easier to get where I need to be going. Here's my open applications. I can easily switch back and forth between something that's open. Recent reports, another great thing. I can go back and say, oh, geez, I printed a invoice or a packing list earlier today. I forgot, I lost it, or someone picked it up off the printer. I want to go back and get to it again. This is nice and easy to do that. Favorites. We might have some favorites listed that may or may not be on an E1 page, or maybe it's something that everyone gets, certain favorites that would ordinarily need to be listed on every page. Watch list. Again, we talked a little bit about this. I'll show a little more later on. I have lots of watch lists. Don't worry if this looks, wow, there's a lot of them there. Yeah, well, I'm in a demo environment. We have lots of them created for various reasons. Note that, again, they show up in different colors based on thresholds that you can set to say, okay, well, here's a number, but is it okay still, or is it, hey, it's red, got to do something about it now. And then notifications we'll talk about a little bit later. It is the most recent enhancement, and recent I mean within the last month, where you can get these watch lists or watch list type data on notifications. They are pushed to you outside of JD Edwards. We'll talk more, but again, essentially those are pushed to you outside of JD Edwards via email or text message. There are lots of ways to move around and access applications and other things in JD Edwards. We've got the icons up here. There is also a carousel that I had hidden. If we want to see some of these open all the time to have easier access, I can do that. I can grab this carousel, move it wherever I want on any edge or side of the screen. Again, just dragging and dropping that. Personally, I like to keep it closed. I'd rather have the real estate for my alerts and applications, as well as my main customer service inquiry screen. You can personalize additional things with JD Edwards. Under my name up here in the right-hand column, under my user ID, there are quite a few things, but effectively we're going to just show you some preferences. The main one I want to focus on is open application in new window. So every time I open an application in JD Edwards, I can choose to pop it open in a new browser window. So I can do Alt-Tab back and forth. It would also allow me, if I have multiple monitors, to have applications visible on both of the monitors. Something that's very nice and again gives you quick access, and you don't have to go find stuff and continue opening and closing things that you can only see one at a time. You get the option to have multiple windows open to resize. There's one other thing that I'll show you later on also called Cafe One. JD Edwards allows you to have multiple windows open that are linked together by data. Something extremely powerful that all the users who were on JD Edwards before this got that functionality and were elated. I'll show you what that is again also coming up. Security. Well, JD Edwards has extremely detailed security. I mentioned when I logged on that these pages are generally tied to me by a role, my user ID by a role. You could have multiple roles assigned to you. For example, maybe you are backing up someone who goes on a vacation and you need to do their job for a week. You can have roles assigned by date range, effective date range, to say, okay, well, this person's going on vacation this week. I'm going to assign you a secondary role or a tertiary role. for that particular week. Those roles are what drive security. What programs or applications can I use? What dashboards can I see? What fields can I maintain or view? All the way down to the field level, you can get extremely specific. There is also database security built in. For example, if I'm a sales rep, I may only be able to see sales orders from my customers. So very important, you can get extremely detailed and lock down security across the board in JD Edwards. Okay, so we've seen a little bit about what goes into building a page or what goes into the makeup of a page. Let's get into an application. So I do find here on a sales order inquiry, there's lots of stuff. I have a grid down here that's showing me a history of sales orders. I've kind of got it open to all customers, all products, and the data can be, at first, look a little massive. JD Edwards, again, as Steve mentioned, is a very broad, very deep ERP package. You can use this there are many industry-specific fields, and you can go dig very deep and configure your business processes way more than you can in a lot of other ERP systems. So I've got a scroll bar that has a lot of these on here. Okay, well, first let's take a look at what you can do with the data in the grid. It looks like an Excel spreadsheet, doesn't it? It acts very similar to an Excel spreadsheet. If I want a field column to be a little wider, to show more data, I just open it up. Or I can squeeze it back down and narrow it to show more data on the screen. If I want to take a field and re-sequence where it is, I can just drag and drop. These things obviously need no developer. Nobody in IT needs to do this. This can be down all the way to the end user level. Sometimes a lot of this user interface stuff with JD Edwards, you leave at the super user level or a business analyst who can create these grids and then push them out to other users to make them accessible to the public or to specific users. If I want to freeze the screen, I do a right click, and now I keep the left-hand side of the screen static, the left-hand columns, and I can scroll through the ones on the right, keeping things like sales order number visible and item number and sold to name visible at all times. I can unfreeze that. Should I want to hide? Maybe I don't want to see revision reason. Maybe I don't want to see revision number. I can hide those fields. I have the ability to save different grid formats. For example, if I look here, I've got the generic show all columns. It gives me everything. But if I want to see one I've got for Steve, this is mine typically, it doesn't look too much different except I've got a column highlighted in orange here. I do have some differences in sequence. I have a list view that I've created that kind of allows me to see everything scrunched together a little more with multiple rows per line. Or I can create a new one. Let's go do that. I'll show you how simple it is to create a new format. I'm going to go into the personalized grid and create. Now, I can start from scratch, move all these over. I'm going to say I want order number, order type, say line, sold to number, sold to name, code, item, description, quantity, unit of measure, and then we'll do a couple more, maybe a date field, do requested date. Statuses, we'll talk a little bit about statuses as we get into the order to cash demonstration and do a customer PO. Okay. Also, I'm going to take one of these columns, let's say quantity, I want that one to highlight, and make that yellow. And I can do data sequencing as well if I want to sort. Enter a new name, say ERP comparison, click OK. And now I've got my screen. Very simple. If I wanted to make additional changes to it, every time I slide a column over and resize it, I get a little save button that pops up. I can go ahead and save that. Let me get this out of the way. And basically go in then and save that field. Sorry, I'm having a there we go. Just had to move something out of the way for the webinar. Okay, so we've now got the following grid created. From this, you can do additional things as well. Suppose you want to export this data. There's a tool that helps you do that. Again, hovering over an icon in JD Edwards gives you a little pop-up that tells you what the icon is. Most of them are very easy to tell. Most of them, if you look at what's up here, the check mark is select or OK. There's a find, an add, a copy, close, and some other drop-downs that allow you to jump quickly from one application to another. So let's take a look at this export. First of all, it will allow you, just by clicking on it, to say, give you an Excel export. You can choose ranges and such and send the data and create a new spreadsheet. Or you can do a copy and paste simply by selecting and then doing a copy on that, Control-C, and then a paste. But what if you wanted to add data from a spreadsheet into JD Edwards? Well, there's that capability also. Let's go show an example of that. I'm going to go to the customer and item page. In JD Edwards, there is an item cross-reference application. Suppose specifically you have a customer that says, well, I want you to give me my item numbers on all the documentation. Okay, so they say, yeah, I know you've got your item numbers, but on my packing list, I want you to also print my item number. So they send you a spreadsheet. I'm going to do a Control-C to copy, go to the open line, and paste it in. And immediately, not only does it bring in the data, it edits and validates and enters the data as if I'd keyed it line by line. You see how quick that was to enter those 3 lines. It pulled up the JD Edwards description, put in my item cross-reference numbers for my customer, and gave me effective and expired dates defaulted in. This is available on any input-capable JD Edwards grid. Think about it if you have a sales order and a customer sends you a sales order via a spreadsheet. Now, JD Edwards also allows you to import data externally, like through EDI or through an interface to maybe an external web or point of sale system. All of that is fully integrated. Again, JD Edwards has been around for a while. It can do quite a bit of stuff. Okay, so we've now taken a look at the grids. Let's go to some of the more recent enhancements with JD Edwards. I mentioned Cafe One. This is going to be really cool. All right. There are lots and lots of screens and data and applications within JD Edwards. You may not want to have 3 or 4 or 5 windows open and have to jump between them to continuously look at the data. Not everybody has 2 monitors. So if I go into an item master, there are, again, there's a lot of data behind the item master in JD Edwards. But if I go in and select an item, I've got different tabs with different data on here. But there are additional fields that screens that I have to go to. I've tied them on a Cafe One. I've got a couple of additional applications that I've tied here. For item number 210, item 210, notice that it automatically brought up all the warehouses available for item 210. So it shows me where this item is located and what warehouses across my system, across my company. And then also, it's brought in unit and measure conversions for this product, for this item. I didn't have to go in and load these screens. They loaded immediately as soon as I started working with this item. I'll go show you another example of that, a really good real-world example going back into the sales order inquiry. I'm going to go back to my show all columns. Okay, so you didn't even notice I had minimized this over here on the right. I've got work with item availability. As I select different items in the grid, my screen on the right will automatically update. Again, these Cafe Ones can be created and then pushed out to specific users or roles. Very important to set these up and give access to as much information on the screen as possible so people in customer service or wherever don't have to spend a lot of time when they're on the phone with somebody or when they're looking something up. If I go into a sales order, this is an existing sales order, but the same thing would happen on the creation of a new sales order. It takes a look at the customer and also brings in the order history, showing the most recent order first. So if I'm on the phone with the customer and they're saying, oh, you know, here's what I'm ordering, this item, this item, this item, you can also take a look and say, well, I noticed you haven't ordered a forklift in a while. Do you need another one? If a customer says, oh, I ordered this product a couple of months ago, I can't remember what it was, you've got that in front of you. I included a supply and demand screen down here as well, if you want to be able to see this at the same time. JD Edwards does available to promise, and you can have a quick graphical look at whether or not you think you'll have inventory available if they order out into the future. Again, something like that is extremely beneficial to anyone. So that's Cafe One. These are easy to build. You're simply mapping a field on the screen to another field in that application to pass the data. They take just minutes to create. And then they save many minutes a day. Going further now, these forms, you notice, have a ton of data on there. Nobody needs all that data. I've never seen anyone that said, I need every field that JD Edwards has for me to be able to look at data. Let's go to the item master, for example. If I'm creating a new item, do I need to enter data into all these fields? Look, there's a lot of them that are blank. Maybe I need only one field or a couple fields on this tab. Maybe I only need a couple fields in this tab and the rest of them default. I don't want to have to jump between tab to tab to tab and then through additional screens. There is now form personalization in JD Edwards. This allows you to create without a programmer, without any kind of a deployment, without any need from IT. I can make changes to this form as I see fit. Hide those to get some more screen here. Notice we've got a bunch of minuses here. If I don't need to do this field, I can delete it. If I don't need to do this whole, I can just get rid of the whole group here. Delete them. I can move stuff around. I want to take this here. Again, you've got the crosshairs to help you align the data or align the field columns. If I wanted to take something from the lot processing field or tab, I can move it and then drop it here. So I can get the one or two fields from those other tabs all onto this same window or same screen. I can sort them such that it matches our item master creation. Maybe we have a book that shows us all the fields that need to be created. I can set up my JD Edwards screen without a programmer to be in the same sequence as my manual, saving a ton of time going and searching for fields. There's a lot more to this. If I wanted to change the name, if I wanted to rename this, done. Especially if I'm doing some things with fields that may not have names that make any sense. I can quickly change those to the terminology that my company uses. All right. Hopefully you understand the power that you get from something like this form personalization. There's more. The next things I'm going to show you deal with finding data. Everybody needs to be able to quickly find and search data, right? So there's all these open white boxes on top of each of these columns. They're filters. If I want to search for item 220, brings up 220. If I want to search in addition, now these are ands, all these fields together are ands. For Bob's Hardware, for item 220, I can do that. But this capability has some limitations. If I wanted to search for two items or two customers at the same time, I couldn't do that. Hence these additional queries up here that I briefly mentioned before. So if I want to create a query, note that I get all these little pluses automatically show up when I'm creating a query. So we talked about item number. Maybe I want to see item number, and I want to do item 220, 221, and 210. And also, I'm going to get another screen and say, or another field, and say my requested date. And I want to look at days, the requested date from today out 10 days. And again, here you have a match all or match any. And I'm also going to do request a date. I'm going to say less than 10 days from now, and greater than minus 3 months. Let's save my query. And now when I show my ERP comparison, there's what I've got. This avoids, if you have to come in every day and search for a particular set of data, you can create a query and never have to go back and reset all that information again. Day after day, you're coming in and saying, oh, I want to take a look at the orders for my best customer. We'll create a query. Quickly jump to it. You can default which query you want to see on a daily basis, or jump back and forth. See, I've got several of them created. You can see how, again, how powerful that is. While we're at it, the watch lists are built on top of these queries. So I just did a query here that was called ERP comparison, effectively giving me 3 items, some bikes. If I wanted to create a watch list on top of this, I'm going to call it bikes watch list. Maybe I don't care if there's 1 of them in here, but maybe if there's 5, I care a lot. I want to be really notified. It's going to default the same name. Done with that. So how quickly it was to create a watch list on top of this. And this watch list now will display in my drop-down list. I can take that watch list and quickly add it also to my page or dashboard. So that's how easy it is to do that setup in JD Edwards. And again, if I take a look at this watch list drop-down, I can just click on this, and it'll bring that query up that has that exact data. The same thing with the data behind anything on a page. If I want to see my orders on credit hold, which orders? There's my 3 orders. Watch lists have now gone another level. They are now easily, watch lists can be then superseded by these notifications. Notifications are so new, I haven't even gotten one created yet in my demo environment. But again, they're easy to do. Once you've got a watch list, you just tell that watch list where to send. I want to send it to my email. I want to send it to my phone as a text message. You know, suppose there's a major issue with inventory. I'm a warehouse manager and I'm on, away. It's on a weekend or something. Someone's coming to do some work, and I've done a notification on an inventory location going negative, and on hand going negative. On hand should never be negative. But if I get one negative, I want A, to be notified via email or a text message, and notifications can also launch additional functions. So in this case, it'll send me a notification, hey, item in this location went negative on hand, and by the way, I've also now kicked off automatically a cycle count for that item in that warehouse. So someone will be forced to go out and correct and find out where the missing inventory went, or was it truly just gone? Notifications are, again, something that's come up in the last month. JD Edwards and Oracle are putting a ton of money into this. This is where a lot of the development is going for JD Edwards, making a user so much more efficient. Another way to be more efficient, Searching. Okay, global search, also relatively new. What I really like, so I'm going to just type in Bob. I'm going to do searches across all data. Now this is what's been set up. So it finds Bob and some customers. Address book is like a who's who type of thing. So it finds Bob in there. You can create your own searches. Those are ones that just were out of the box from Oracle. You can search on any data, any table in the database, even custom ones that you create. So if you've created a little module that kind of tied into JD Edwards, you can have those searches be part of the global search function. I want to type red and say, okay, show me all the red items. Notice I've got some from a supplier item and some from the item master. I've got the ability to show some additional information. Look at my PO, my sales orders, my POs. Is it on a parts list? Or if I want also, I can jump right into the item master from this search. All about efficiency these days. All this stuff is something that either comes out of the box or you can get set up during an implementation as part of the implementation. So it's ready to go day one. Last thing I want to show you before we get into a quick order to cash is mobile applications. So JD Edwards comes with, well not comes with, but essentially has about 80 purpose-built apps. All right, so these purpose-built apps are continuously being added by Oracle. I'm just going to show you a quick inventory availability. I'm going to log in as I would log in to JD Edwards. Again, you can get to these anywhere that you have the internet, just like regular JD Edwards. While I'm getting this logged in here, I have to press login to get logged in. You can use JD Edwards native on the iPad. It was the first ERP to have that availability. If I want to search on inventory for a bike, I can go in and take a look at this information as well. Quickly go to locations, get all this data. Think about a mobile application. That's really all I wanted to do here, is just show you that what it's like. If you have an expense, if you have a field rep who wants to do an expense report, they don't have to come in to a computer to do an expense report in JD Edwards. You can take pictures of your receipts on the iPhone, attach them to your expense report, and go essentially never have to go into the office. So I'm going to do a quick order to cash. We got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to hit add. You don't need to have item numbers or customer numbers. If I just know my customer's name, my customer probably only knows their name. They don't know their customer number. You know, if I want to say a bike, same thing. So if I want to say bike, I can continue to type until I narrow down the item. Put in my quantity. I'm going to submit it. I'm going to look that order up. Okay, so I mentioned statuses briefly. This is how JD Edwards flows sales orders, work orders, purchase orders, how they flow them through the system. This is all configurable, how many steps you want the order to take, what type of ability to see what step in the process the order might be at. So this is telling me the next thing that has to happen, the next status, is a pick slip print. Well, we are going to tie that to shipping. I've created a shipment for this as well. If I want to jump into this shipment, again, I'm just looking at current shipments here. I start working with it when I approve the shipment. Approving this shipment prints the pick slip, sends it to the shop floor, or sends it to the warehouse floor, where it can be assigned to someone to go pick that product. Now, again, typically you would have maybe a data collection system where someone would go use a barcode scanner tied to JD Edwards to advance the status to say I picked it, say I packed it, whatever steps you want to have occur. So if I refresh this here, it's now been approved. Once it's been completely picked and packed and ready for shipment, a shipment confirmation, again, is typically done at the shipping dock through a scanner, through a data collection device. But here, we can do this through this program. I'm going to show you a couple of things first. In JD Edwards, you have the ability to have a transportation module that says, how can I ship this? I'm going to select the cheapest route. I'm going to send it National Express. My charge is $95. Le Mans Transport was charging me $230, and Best Way, which turns out not to be the best way, was going to charge $12,000. However, they were going to get it there in a day versus the transit days, 2 transit days for the other 2 LTL carriers. So you can have an integrated traffic or transportation system. Pretty cool stuff. Same thing with, if you wanted to integrate to UPS WorldShip, so on and so forth. But it can be all internal inside of JD Edwards if you wish. Another thing to quickly show, since we're almost finished here, what documents need to go with this shipment? It's my favorite thing to show with JD Edwards, document sets. The system will keep track of, do I need a bill of lading? Well, if it's not a parcel carrier, if this is LTL in this case, I need a bill of lading. Are there quality test results that I need? Maybe I'll send a COA, maybe an invoice, shipment manifest, packing list, label prints. At the same time that I do my shipment confirmation, I can print these all out. No longer does someone in the shipping office have to remember, oh, that's right, this customer wanted me to use their packing list. Well, you can set it up a document set in JD Edwards to say, for this customer, use their document, their packing list document. There's a tool in JD Edwards called BI Publisher that allows you to format the forms and make their packing list look like their packing list instead of using yours. No one in the shop or no one on the shipping office needs to remember anymore. When I tell and show the shipping guys this, and it takes all of that weight off their shoulders, that things that they have to remember, they are ecstatic. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to confirm this again, just using this program, this application, but again, it's typically done on a, I've got it, hang on a second. It's typically done on a shop floor. It's typically done on the floor, not here. and I'm going to go ahead and just get that shipped. Now you see it'll go from approved to confirmed. Let's go back and take a look at that sales order now. I'm going to go to my query of recent orders. So there's my order at the bottom, 153342. Note that now this has automatically printed the invoice. The last status is print an invoice. I tied that to the ship confirmation. You can have the invoices print in a scheduled job or a batch job at the end of the day if you'd like, but I wanted to show that this could automatically print an invoice as you confirm the shipment. That invoice can be sent via EDI. It can be sent through an email, or it can be printed out and mailed like the old days. All those different stipulations can be by customer. So maybe there's a customer that doesn't have EDI and doesn't like to use email. They can still have theirs automatically printed, while the customer in the next order can have theirs emailed or sent via EDI. At that point, all the information has gone over to the GL and to AR to receive payment. Everything in JD Edwards, again, already integrated. Nothing you need to do to tie that all together. It's why the system has had over 7,000 customers who are extremely loyal to it. So with that, that's the end of our demo with navigation and a quick order to cash scenario. I'm going to send the control back over to Steve May.
Yeah, thank you, Steve Mowchan. That's excellent demonstration. Definitely appreciate you showing the power of JD Edwards, a lot of the flexibility and the user interface and reporting and analytics. Definitely a very good demonstration. Thank you. I appreciate that. And want to encourage everyone here to submit any questions that you have through your GoToWebinar pane. We do have several questions here, Steve. I'll take some, and it looks like some might be for you as well. First one I will ask here is, once an organization purchases the software and it's been implemented, what access to learning training is available past the initial training or onboarding process? So that's a very good question, and I'm glad you're asking that. It's an important one. I'll give you a few different answers here. One, Oracle builds and sells the JD Edwards software, so they do offer as well extensive training in JD Edwards through Oracle University. So there's both web-based and classroom-based training that's available for purchase. Also, as Terillium implements, we do train your team and your users. We're also available after the implementation to deliver customized training to you, either classroom or web-based. But probably more useful is that as we implement, we do like to use a tool called User Productivity Kit, which is another Oracle product aimed at producing customized training content for you. And the way this works is it basically records how to do stuff in the software, and then you can play it back later as a video, as a training device that will quiz your users on what they do next and grade them. That will create printed training documentation. Steve Mowchan actually used to work at one of our customers who made some pretty extensive use of User Productivity Kit as they went through an implementation and built out a lot of training materials that, you know, if someone was hired after the implementation, they could come in and watch these User Productivity Kit training videos or look at the documentation and get trained pretty easily. So there's a few answers there. Oracle provides training, Terillium provides training, and we like to use this tool called User Productivity Kit to give you training content that you can then use, modify, update, and have that moving forward. Okay, a couple more questions here. Can purchase orders that are generated be paid directly by the customer through a portal that links to or through JD Edwards? Another very good question. The answer is yes. JD Edwards provides a customer self-service portal that allows your customers to do things like view their invoices, see their sales orders, get order acknowledgments. Most of our customers who run JD Edwards prefer to have the credit card function provided by a third party. That's because they don't want to store credit card numbers in their database. They don't want to have to worry about the PCI compliance and the encryption standards within a database that sits in their site, or even, if they have it hosted at a hosting site. So they tend to buy a third-party application to handle the credit card payment aspect of that portal, but that portal is available from JD Edwards so that customers can log in and see and pay their invoices. And then conversely, can AP be managed within the software to reduce paperwork? So yes, I've seen a lot of AP departments reduce paperwork simply by scanning vendor invoices and storing those as attachments within JD Edwards, so electronically storing invoices from vendors, as opposed to what I used to see when I'd go into AP departments were rows and rows of filing cabinets that held paper copies of vendor invoices. So a lot of companies now have moved to more of a paperless AP department where those invoices are stored electronically. That's kind of the initial answer. There you can get way more advanced than that through things like optical character recognition, where you're taking a paper invoice, not only storing it electronically, but actually converting it to an electronic transaction so that you can pay it automatically too. But those are certainly options to help you get more paperless. Let's see. I think that answers the existing questions. If anyone has another question, type that in fast here and I'll read it. Otherwise, we'd be happy to follow up with more questions after the webinar. So I want to thank all of the attendees. I hope this was a good use of your hour and change to see the JD Edwards demonstration, and I definitely want to thank Steve Mowchan for a great demo. Steve, thanks for helping us out today with showing JD Edwards. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow morning where we will continue the ERP webinar series. Thanks, everyone.